All right. Well, just so we got a pretty good chunk of people here, and there might be some people filtering in as we get going, but it's 12:04 and we'll get started here. Well, thank you guys for coming. We got a great lunch and learn for you with a lot of good information. I'll start by introducing myself. My name's Jake Jansen. I am a project coordinator for the summer with the Clayton County Energy District as an intern. And so today we, like I said, have a lunch and learn with great information on solar, community solar. And so at the municipal utility level. And so I know we have a lot of people on that are connected with municipal utilities or in that area, but some are not. And so I guess this could be a time to learn and to also, dream of if your area could transition to municipally owned utilities. But first, again, more people are coming in and out, so that might be going on, but some housekeeping. You can, some of you can, we can see you. The majority we can't, but hopefully you can see me and Josh. And we will, if you have questions throughout, you can use the chat feature, which hopefully everybody has access to. And so just drop the question in there, and then at the very end, we'll do kind of a question with Josh, and it shouldn't be, it should work that way. And if you have a really important question throughout, we can answer it too, but hopefully we'll save those for the end. And I guess without further ado, on behalf of the Clayton County Energy District Board and myself, it's a pleasure to introduce the Osage Utility General Manager, Josh Byrnes. He has served for the Iowa House of Representatives. He's served as the Iowa State Board of Education. He's an Iowa native. He's from Luther, or he graduated from Luther. So he's done a lot for our state, and he's here to talk about community solar. And so I'll just pass it on off to Josh.
Okay, well, thank you. So this is all kind of goofy just because we're doing all this on Zoom, and it takes away a little bit of a human element from some of these things, but we'll try the best that we possibly can to make this productive for you. I guess just for my own purposes, if somebody could maybe even just give me a little bit of a summary about the Clayton Energy District, maybe kind of who my audience is, what do you guys consist of?
I can say a little bit, but I just unmuted Jim Osterhaus, who's on our board of directors. Jim, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you want to say a few things?
Well, first a shout out to Harry Blobaum, who pretty much single-handedly founded this group. It was the second energy district in not only the state but the country, following Winneshiek County, and our mission is to help provide clean, efficient, and fair energy to the residents of Iowa. And we have a number of projects, of which Jake is thankfully taken care of for us, and as well as Ashley. And so that's it in a nutshell. We're interested in providing as much local energy as we can, and this is why we're all here to listen to you, Josh.
Okay. What have you guys done so far? What are some of the projects you guys currently have?
Go ahead, Jake.
Well, yeah, I can tell you about one brief one that we're working on. We're calling it the free LED delivery. And so it is a project that is basically what it says. We're dropping off LED light bulbs to the residents and property owners and businesses, to people in Clayton County. And so that's been a project during COVID, because we're kind of minimizing exposure, just dropping off LED light bulbs to their door. They have to sign up. And so it's a really great way to, build community during a pandemic, and also save on their energy bills. The bulbs we're handing out, that if they replace with older bulbs that are less efficient, they're able to save about $50 a year. So that's one big chunk of our projects that we're doing. We're also mapping solar in the county. And so we kind of use that as a resource for future solar customers that they can go there and say, I like that solar. They can see a picture of it and then see the solar installer's information. And we're also trying to quantify our solar in the county to say how far we've gone and how much farther we can go, and kind of get numbers on it as well. So those are two of the projects that I'm been specialized this summer, but there's others. Jim, did you have any other things you'd like to say?
We've hosted quite a few solar fairs and solar tours around the county to highlight different projects. Hopefully we can see your project, Josh, one day. But like McGregor has a solar array that on their water pump, their city water pump, and we went on a tour of that. And so we do tour around the area to see projects in that are being constructed. So.
Okay. And then basically, so your area, so McGregor, Guttenberg, like what are some of the communities?
McGregor, Guttenberg, Monona, Elkader, Garber, a smaller town, Garnavillo,
Strawberry
Guttenberg,
Point.
Strawberry Point.
Yeah, if I can add something really quick. I'm Ashley. I'm the communications specialist for the Energy District. And I typed this in the chat, but we have 3 current towns that are municipal utilities in Clayton County. We have Strawberry Point, McGregor, and Guttenberg. So we do have 3 right now currently. And we had hopes to invite as many community partners as we could. So I'm hoping some of those are on that have say in those towns, that they could potentially be a leader for introducing community solar. So hopefully some of those people are on too, so they can learn more about your community solar project.
Sure. So McGregor is actually part of our buying group with UMEG. So it's the Upper Midwest, Upper Midwest Municipal Energy Group. And so kind of familiar with some things there too. So I guess I'll go ahead and kind of get started with our project. I'm actually out here at our solar farm right now, so I don't know. It's hard to see my screen just because of the sun and kind of the glare, but is it getting the view of the panels, I guess?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
very good.
So we sit on about 4 acres here, 792 kW solar farm, and we built this in 2016. So the interesting part about this is I served in the Iowa House for 6 years. I am not a big political hack. I was just a frustrated citizen that I was an educator by trade. So for 8.5 years, I was a high school biology teacher, anatomy, physiology, environmental science, those types of subject areas. And we had a governor at the time that cut us by 10% across the board in the month of October after teacher contracts had been signed, and really put a crimp on school budgets. And I remember going home and telling my wife, I said, this is ridiculous. I said, I'm going to run for office. So threw my name out there and accidentally got elected, and went to Des Moines for 6 years. And I think they were glad to see me go when I did decide to retire. But so I was always one to question things and just kind of disrupt the status quo, if you would. So this job came open here at the utilities here in Osage, and I don't know, there was something intriguing about it. And so I threw my name in the hat. And February of 2016, I officially started this job. So been the general manager here since that point in time. So nothing on my resume makes sense. And I've been all over the board and done a lot of different things. I attribute it to just being a lifelong learner. I just want to keep learning things and doing different things. I think it drives my wife crazy. But so I start in 2016, and I come into the conversation at our utility about they wanted to do a community solar farm. And so right away, that was the first project that I got in on, got in on the designing phase, started working with, you know, the engineers and whatnot. For us, this project, we had the money in our reserves. So we did not bond for this project. There was no bonding that took place. You know, I went to Luther College. I understand what Decorah is when it comes to renewable energy. That's not Osage. We don't have residents with solar panels. Not saying that people are anti-renewable energy. You just don't have that organic grassroots movement in Osage like you would in a Decorah. But there was more and more people, there were more and more people talking about putting residential solar up. We've had a few people have talked about, you know, business solar, commercial solar, that type of thing, putting it on their roofs and whatnot. So OMU, who does have a rich history of renewable energy and energy efficiency programs, we decided, you know what, why don't we put up a community solar farm? And then that way, people that want to be part of the renewable energy movement or want to participate, they can buy into our system. We maintain it. We do all the upkeep. And then at the end of the day, we also don't have to worry about people tying their renewable energy into our grid. And that's always a concern. I mean, when you start having multiple people having solar panels on their roofs or at their homes and things like that, there is that aspect of it where you have to work with the tie-in part of it. Because if my linemen are working on a line, we want to make sure that there's a disconnect and we want to make sure that things are safe for them. So really, this turned into a really good solution. It allows for one point of entry on our grid system. People don't have to worry about the engineering aspects on their homes. They don't have to worry about, you know, if I put solar panels on my roof, you know, what about snow load? What about wind shear? What about upkeep and maintenance? What if someday I want to re-shingle my roof and I have all these solar panels up there? What do I do then? So there are some unknowns when you start to do the residential solar and you start to do some of that stuff yourself. And there are some, and I've encountered a few of these, there are some really bad salesmen out there when it comes to residential solar. And I've seen the numbers on some people's stuff. I've seen some things they've been told. A few of them get lied to, and you know, they're not engineers. And in some cases, they're telling them they can put solar panels where they probably shouldn't be putting them. So for us, we felt like this was a really good solution. Like I said, we didn't have to bond for it. We had the money in our reserves. We did a little experiment here, I think it was like a year ago, and kind of based on numbers and avoided purchase power, we kind of put a return on our investment of this solar farm, and we put it right at 6% return on our investment. So, you know, you look at current interest rates and things of that nature, and to have left that money sitting in the bank, we would never be getting this kind of return on our investment. So to us, this was just a win-win project. I think it came in at about 1.1 million is what it ended up costing us. Like I said, 792 kW. I think we've got a total of, and I brought a sheet here with me, and I can scan all this stuff and send this out to you to get dispersed. But we have at our solar farm here, we have got 2,772 solar panels. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up splitting those in half. And so, because initially we thought, well, let's and when I say we sell a solar panel, we're not really selling them. People are subscribing to them. So it's like a subscription that they sign on to. And so initially we thought $500 a panel, but then I was like, you know, $500 it gets to be a lot for people. And so we ended up splitting a panel in half. And so you could do half a panel for $250. And we worked with a guy named Gary Price out of Wisconsin who did our modeling for us as to what we should be charging and what was fair and all that. So we did work with a consultant on setting up that formula. But so, you know, we really haven't pushed this. we didn't build this and say, you know what, if we don't get rid of every single panel to a subscriber, this project's a failure. It's not a failure. And it's not a failure because of the avoided purchase power that I don't have to get from Dairyland. We've got, out of all these panels I talked about, we've got 307 of them that are subscribed to. So really our subscription rate is relatively low. And some people have said, well, geez, you know, that's not good. You didn't get people to subscribe into it, and you're probably losing money. We're not losing money. This has been, like I said, a really good project. And so basically what happens is every month we take our numbers off of the production of solar. It gets entered into this formula. So if you had a good month, obviously a person saves more money on their bill. If it's a cloudy month, they're not getting as much back. I mean, it varies every month based on the amount of days that we have sun. So we also have a 1.5 megawatt wind turbine that I don't know today if you can necessarily see it way off in the background. So it's kind of funny because I can stand here one direction, I can look to the west, I can see our GE wind turbine, and then I turn around and I see our solar farm. So I can see all of our renewable energy by standing here in one spot. But I will tell you that I will build solar farms all day long before I will ever do another wind turbine. The wind turbine, and it's a GE. I mean, we put up a good wind turbine back in the day, but boy, it sure eats through the maintenance. The maintenance cost on that, and part of the problem is the model that we have, we own one wind turbine. So, you know, if you've got a wind farm, you can spread out some of that cost amongst all your turbines. For us, with having one, you know, when we're buying equipment that's going to be used on one machine. You know, they got like these shaft hogs, we've got torque machines, we've got all this stuff. We do all of our own maintenance. I have 2 guys that are trained to do that. But we've had to redo the blades. The blades have been hit by lightning. The tower itself has got paint peeling off of it. We've had to replace batteries, yaw pucks. We've had to have the generator itself rebuilt once. So, you know, all that stuff adds up, especially when you're 300 and some feet above ground. There's nothing easy about maintenance on a wind turbine versus, you know, these guys here. You know, I can walk up and take out a cordless drill with me, and I can be popping off a panel if it's bad and pop another panel back on. So maintenance cost on a solar farm, we do nothing out here. I mean, this thing is just kind of self-sufficient. The only thing that we do is we come out in the spring, we hit it once with a mower and just kind of mow things off, any sort of weeds that may be starting. But one of the things we did is we planted low growth clover out here. And so really once that clover gets started in the springtime, it really chokes out the weeds. And so we're not even out here doing a lot of maintenance on, you know, just the vegetation. Plus the other nice thing about the low growth clover is you get a lot of the kind of that white flowering clover head. It's a good pollinator. And so, you know, you kind of serve that purpose as well as you've got some pollinator plants out here. We talked about doing some prairie plants and things like that and a few more pollinators. The problem is some of that stuff gets high, and I don't know if any of you have ever been around a prairie fire, it burns hot. And if something were to potentially happen where there's a fire started out here, I got problems. I'm melting panels. So we decided against that, and we stuck with a low growth clover. We did have a few problems when we built this. You can kind of see here, I think I'm getting it. So each one of these is on this racking system, and we had to dig down and put piers in under each one of these. Osage has got some limestone. I can only imagine what you guys have over there next to the river. Limestone was a problem. That actually delayed the project by quite a bit. we had to actually get a special machine in here to do the boring. When they did the soil sampling and things like that, they missed the rock vein that was out here, so they thought this would be an easy build. And then when they came out, we discovered that there was a vein that traveled right through here of limestone. And so that was, I mean, it wasn't on us. It was on the contractor. Unfortunately, it racked up some more cost to them. But in the end, we got through the rock and we got our piers poured and we got our racking system up. And once that racking system's up, panels go on in no time. It's an easy build. So, but we ended up going with SiteGen out of Cedar Rapids, a guy by the name of Tyler Olson. Tyler and I actually served in the Iowa legislature together. We became pretty good buds down there, and ironically, he retired out of the legislature 2 years before I did, and kind of went back home. And I think he's actually a city council member in Cedar Rapids. But Tyler had this company, SiteGen, and we decided we were going to do this solar project. So we put it out for bid, and Tyler's company is one of the companies that bid on it, and they came in with the lowest bid. So Tyler and I got to work together again on this project, and I got no complaints. They were absolutely awesome. They have been great ever since. We had one inverter fail, and they came out, and I mean, within hours they had that inverter replaced, fixed, and that section of the solar farm was back up and running again. So it's broken down into sections, and I'm looking here. I think I see 1, 2, 3, 4. So in my first row, I think we've got it broken up into 4 different sections. And so if one inverter goes down, you're only taking down a portion of the solar farm. So, and then over here, I don't know if you can see the electrical side of it. So Dairyland Power, since that's who we get our baseload electricity from, they come out, they put a meter on this, and then that's kind of like the official meter. And so any sort of avoided purchase power, it's based off of their meter. We keep a meter here too, just double check, make sure that Dairyland's numbers are okay and they're matching our numbers. Not that they would try to do anything crazy to us, but so and the nice thing is, my 2 guys that maintain the wind turbine, they also maintain the solar farm. Osage is kind of unique as well. We have our own gas, electric, and telecom utility. So we are all inclusive here in Osage. We've got everything covered, which is absolutely awesome. I didn't realize how big of an asset this was to the community of Osage until I really got here and dug into it. But it's nice also having my own line crew, because anything that goes on out here, the line crew is responsible for. Having my own telecom department, I mean, we ran our own fiber out here. We've got everything so we can remote monitor the solar farm here. So, we're kind of just our own little entity, and we just kind of take care of everything. But I know that a lot of our UMEG members, they went ahead and they worked with a company it's been the last 2 years, I guess. And a lot of our UMEG members have now put up solar farms in their communities. And theirs is a different model. They got a company that's basically, I think the member owns the property, and then the company owns the solar site in terms of the panels, and then they're getting the tax credits and things like that off of it. We were not able to claim any sort of tax credits off of this project because we had already claimed tax credits off of our wind turbine. So that prevented us from taking advantage of any more of the renewable tax credits, but that's fine. Like I said, it's been a very, very good return on our investment. It's low maintenance. We monitor it remotely. We don't even have to come out here and look at things. Like, we know if something goes bad because you'll see a dip in output. And so we did have something goofy happen on the very far end. We had one panel that I don't know, it's more on the residential end of this farm, and we think somebody did something goofy down there, maybe threw something over the fence, not quite sure, but it did crack a panel. Somehow it got weight put on one corner and kind of caused this twisting motion. And so we did have to replace the panel, and we keep extra panels on hand just in case something like that happens. So, but so yeah, it's been a good project. Like I said, I'd put up more if we had the space. But we continue in Osage. We just don't have residential solar. I don't get overwhelmed with people. People come into the office and they say, we're, maybe looking at putting some solar panels on our garage roof. And then I'll be like, well, have you thought about being a participant in our community solar farm? I give them more information on that. And then they usually leave with that information. They come back and they subscribe to it. And they're like, we'd rather do that than have to deal with that on our property or on our house. So I feel like it's been a good solution for those people. I was going to look here too. We've got, because the question always comes up, we tried to make this as flexible as we possibly could. So we actually have people that will come and subscribe to the solar panels, and then they'll donate them. And so we have people that have donated solar panels to their church. We've had people that have donated solar panels to the school. And so by doing that, they're basically helping the school lower their utility bill. We've got a Cedar River complex here that's like it's got an unbelievable auditorium. It's got a suspended walking track, weightlifting, basketball courts, fitness center basically. And they actually looked at putting solar panels on their roof, and then they backed away from it. You got a rubber membrane roof up there. For some reason in Iowa, we always think it's a good idea to throw a bunch of rock on these roofs, and then you get a leak and you can never find the leak. And then if on top of that, you put these solar panels up there and you got some sort of ballast system, that's a whole nother layer that you got to work around and work through. So they ended up subscribing to a lot of panels here and had some pretty big donors that said, why don't you guys just do this instead of putting that on your roof? And then the other part of this is every year, these solar panels, they lose efficiency. I mean, over time, they're not going to be as efficient as they were on day one. So we also take and change our subscription fees based on that efficiency. So if you were to come into OMU today, 4 years after we put this up, it's not going to be the $250 per. It's going to be, I'm just looking at my schedule here. It's going to be, I think we've got that knocked down 60% of what the original cost was. So basically every year we take about 10% off of that original cost, and then we scheduled it out for 20 years. So basically we anticipate that these are going to be here for 20 years. The way we kind of sell it is that it's for 25 years. So if my hope is we get 25 years out of it. So then every year that we're above 20, people get even more of a bonus on that. So, in a way, I guess you could say you're prepaying your electric bill in a roundabout way. I'm part of a community solar farm. I don't live in Osage. I live out in the countryside on an acreage. And I'm part of a rural electric cooperative called Heartland Power. And Heartland Power's got a community solar farm probably 10 miles from this one. And so I'm a member of their solar farm up there and bought into that system for my own purposes at my house. And our models are very, very similar to each other. I think I actually have them beat by about 5 kW. So I like to tell them we're just a shade bigger than what they put out there. So Osage is always trying to be bigger and better than St. Ansgar anyway. So it's just part of that continued rivalry that we have. But so I don't know. That's kind of the quick and dirty of these solar panels in our community solar farm. I mean, people have some questions for me.
Yeah, we do have a few questions. We'll just start from the top. One of the questions just was, what is done with the excess energy? You might have mentioned it, but can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and so everything goes on the grid and then is utilized by Dairyland Power. So, that's who we get our base load electricity from. It's kind of interesting. So another unique thing about OMU, or Osage Municipal Utilities, is we can also generate our own electricity. We have a light plant. And so we've got, we've got 2 diesel generators, 2 Cat diesel generators, and then we have 2, oh my goodness, they're like 1950 Worthington engines that they fire up on diesel, but then we convert it, then it converts over to natural gas, and they're just monsters. But we can generate enough electricity out of that plant with a combination of 2 of those. So what we usually do is we can run 1 Caterpillar engine with one of our old Worthingtons. The Cats are really good at fluctuation, and so that's why we try to run a Cat with the older ones. The older ones, it's pretty much just lay the pedal down and let that thing go, and it's just steady. And so the Cat kind of complements it with that fluctuation. What's really interesting is that MISO, who regulates our grid system here in the upper Midwest, MISO in the last 2 weeks has given us notification that they're going to expect us to potentially double the amount of generation that we're doing. And it's kind of an interesting scenario, because what's happening is as people are retiring, the dirty energy, as they're retiring coal plants or, the nuclear or what have you, and we're going to more of the renewable, they're having a hard time keeping up right now. And so they're asking for us smaller municipalities that can generate with our generators, they're asking us to potentially double what we've been used to. So that's interesting and creates a little bit of a problem for me, because it's not cheap for us to generate. The diesel's expensive. You start talking about overtime hours with your employees. You start running that equipment harder like that, you tend to have more problems, and that equipment is not cheap to maintain or to do upkeep on. So, to me, I almost wonder if we obviously need more renewable, but we might have started to retire a few things too soon before the renewables caught up to where they need to be, because MISO's having a hard time balancing the grid and the load right now. So any excess capacity, back to the original question, is going onto the grid, and then through that meter, like I said, Dairyland Power, it's basically avoided power purchasing that we're getting from them. So.
Great. Okay, we got another question. How has the Osage Solar System affected retail KW for non-subscribers?
Hasn't. I guess, I shouldn't say that. So if you think about it through the whole system, I guess it has in a roundabout way, because it's avoided purchase power that we didn't need to get from the base load. And so, that helps. Every bit helps that way. So I guess for those people that are not subscribers, indirectly, it's helped keep the cost in check of that base load you're buying. And I guess there's different ways you could look at this. I suppose we could have taken that 1.1 million in our reserves, because a municipal utility is not to act like a for-profit utility. That's the beauty of us, is that I don't have shareholders. I don't have, people that I got to worry about keeping them happy because they want a return on their investment. So I always have to be careful too, in terms of what kind of dollars we're putting into our reserves, because I never want to look like, we're just creating this war chest, and potentially people are like, well, you're charging me too much. So, I suppose we could have taken this 1.1 million and given it back to our ratepayers and said, go ahead, do with it what you want. But I feel like it was a better decision to reinvest this into that solar and give them those opportunities at being part of that renewable portfolio. And long term, like I said, if I'm getting a 6% return on the investment on this, that's good for my ratepayers. So that's good for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, we have another one. Approximately what percentage of your electric power is generated by the solar farm?
Oh, I should have looked that up before I came here. I used to know that like the back of my hand. It's been a while since I've had to talk about our solar. I want to say we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 or 3%. It was somewhere in that neck of the woods. I used to have written down how many homes we provide with this. I'm just looking at my cheat sheet here. Here we go. An estimated 154 homes in Osage. We're a population of 350. We're a population of 3,500. So 154 homes is what this basically is projected to serve.
Okay, so then another kind of percentage question. You were talking about wholesale power purchases, and did you mention what percentage of electricity, or what percentage of the electricity does it demand?
Say that again.
So basically, you were talking about the solar farm reduces your wholesale power purchase. Did you mention what percentage of electricity does it demand?
Okay, so like what is our avoided, I guess, is kind of
Yeah, I think so.
I did not bring those numbers with me. And so obviously that fluctuates. I'm just trying to see here if I got something written down. And obviously that fluctuates each month based on the number of days of sun. But we get, and I don't have that with me, because what we get every month is we get a printout or a report from Dairyland Power, and then they give us all that data each month. So something I could do is, in addition to these documents that I have, I can get copies of like what Dairyland Power gives back to us. In fact, I can probably get, I know I can get all of you guys a history of, just from basically 2016 and what that kind of looks like. It's kind of interesting too, because we get the graphs and the charts and stuff. And so you can, year to date type of things. We've got, the other thing I can send you guys is we have a website that also allows the customers to see what kind of production. I mean, you can go on it every day, take a look and see what the solar panels are doing. So there's some online resources there too, but I can get some of this stuff scanned in and probably send it to Jolene and let her disseminate that information amongst the group.
Yeah, that sounds good. We can definitely get on our Facebook page or something like that too. So a couple questions on the subscribers. Do you think that the current subscribers act as like commercial promotions for future subscribers?
Well, I will tell you that we probably could have done, looking back on it, we probably could have done a better job of promoting. And we had plans to. But what happened is when we had the problems with the boring of the piers, it pushed everything back. Literally, these guys are finishing this project. So in the perfect world, in my mind, on the building schedule, we were going to be done kind of late summer, early fall. I wanted to have an open house out here. I wanted to promote. I wanted to really get things going. And then the project got delayed so much that these guys literally were kind of just finishing up when we were starting to get snow. And it just wasn't a good time to have an open house. And then spring came. We never got a chance to seed anything down. So spring came. It was a muddy mess. And so we didn't have anything in the spring. And then, as you guys know, you get busy doing all sorts of other things. And we probably dropped the ball on that part of it. We probably should have been promoting. We had ideas of putting up yard signs. So we had a design developed and everything. And so people that subscribed to the panels, we were going to give them a yard sign that they could put up in their front yard. And then, people would ask like, oh, what's that all about? And then, kind of that word of mouth and whatnot. But who knows, Yeah, it would have been. So it would have been an election year that too, the election year that year. And I think we made the decision to not put the yard signs up because there were too many yard signs that were all political, and we thought we're going to get lost in the shuffle. So we could have done a better job on that. That's probably something that I would suggest to others if you're doing this. The marketing part of it, we probably get a D- for a grade on that. We did have the governor here. I mean, we did do some things to kind of promote, but we talked a lot about it in our newsletters. We had articles in the paper. I mean, so it's not like we didn't, but we could have probably done some more. Next year is actually our 80th anniversary for the utilities. My plan for next year is we're going to do kind of a big to-do. We'll have something out here. We'll have something at our wind farm. We've been putting a lot of fiber in the area. We just got a USDA grant, 100% grant for putting fiber into a little community called Mitchell, just up the road from us. So we're going to kind of showcase everything that we've done for our 80th. And so that might be an opportunity for us to kind of relaunch the solar farm, if you will, and maybe put in a push and say, panels are cheaper now. Why don't you guys go ahead and jump in on the project? But the other thing is, like I said, we didn't really need to sell panels because it was such a good investment. So there really wasn't a big hard push and a lot of pressure on us to get rid of the panels because we benefit by owning them ourselves.
Right. Okay. Well, then another question is, what about the current subscribers? Have there been any unhappy subscribers, and have any wish to unsubscribe?
No, absolutely not. Everybody, in fact, we've had a lot of them that have come back and bought more. Most of our recent sales, we still get people trickling in to this day. And I would say most of them are people that have said, you know what, I want to buy more. I got some money. I don't know what to do with it. I just want to buy some more panels from you. And every now and then we'll put another article in the newsletter and just remind people that this is available. The other interesting thing is we were thinking about this in the beginning, and we're like, okay, so what happens if a person passes away? What happens to their subscription, or what happens if a person sells their home and they move out of town? And so we've seen everything happen. We've seen people that have moved out of town that had subscriptions. They made it part of the package for the home, and they left it with the home. And so whoever bought the home, we just transferred the name over on the subscription to the new homeowner. And so it was kind of a value added asset to that residence. We've had people that have moved out of town and they've basically donated or bequeathed their panels to somebody else and said, can you transfer my solar panel to such and such in their residence? So we've been very, very flexible. In fact, we even have it in our language that if somebody were to be unhappy and they came to us and said, we want out, we have a buyback clause in there that we would buy it back from them. And basically we're going to buy it back at the kind of that depreciated value of the number I talked about earlier, how the efficiency does go down every year, but we're willing to buy them back too. So I feel like we've got about every scenario covered that you could possibly have happen with a subscription.
Awesome. Another question was about, can residents today, new residents, can they buy in today, and what would be the cost, or at least the estimate?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like I said, I think it's about 60% of the original cost. But yeah, I mean, if somebody, like I said, we're still selling them. I'm trying to think the last time we've had somebody, well, we haven't had anybody come in lately because our office has been closed to the public for COVID since probably April. So we don't have any walk-ins anymore. But yeah, we sold some, I know, early spring to a church. There's some people that about every 6 months will come in, and I don't know if they're a little group that raises some money, but they come in and they buy as many panels as they can with the cash that they have, and they donate it to one of our Lutheran churches here in town.
That's great. And then someone was wondering, is expanding the solar farm an option?
That's a great question. Where we're standing here, I've got actually to the north side, I've got a bird preserve that some family left that uh, little wooded area to the city of Osage and said that it's to never be torn down and they want it to be a bird preserve. So as I've been standing here, I've had cardinals flying by me. I've had all sorts of different birds. So that's, pretty cool. And then to my west, I've got Fox River Mills, the home of the sock monkey. So I can't expand there. And then I do have a trailer court right on the south side of me, and I can't go that way. So I'm limited here. So I would have to find another place to do this. I've built out as far as I can here. I'd have to find another piece of land to do this on. And I guess that's like, I personally like the solar over the wind. However, the wind is a smaller footprint. And here in Mitchell County, we have some of the best farmland that you can find. In fact, we have a piece of land that we own on the other side of town where our pole yard is that has a CSR of like 98. So that kind of gives you an idea of how good our ground is here. So getting people to sell me land so that I can put solar panels up on top of this good farmland, it is a tough sell on those people. So that's one of the things I got kind of going against me. What I'd love to find is, some sort of a brown field or sort of an area here that, if you had like an old gas station or if you had something that just isn't really good for development, that would be the ideal situation for me right now, is to find something where I could make it better and improve it by putting the solar panels on it and get some productivity out of that property. So I haven't found that yet though. And people up here, like literally where my pole yard is, the farmland around there, I think it was about 5 years ago, I think it brought $21,000 an acre. So I've got no expansion over there. They're never going to let me put solar panels up in that area. So that's kind of the battle I have with expansion, is just the quality of our farm ground is just so good that farmers just don't want to give it up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and then our last question, unless there's another one that trickles in, we were wondering, could you explain the formula for the solar monthly bill credit?
So what I will do on that is I will send you that because it's written out. And so I can send you that formula of how we calculate that. So that'll be in the packet that we send out to you guys, or whatever I scan to you, but it's in there. So you can see how we came up with that. Basically, it's relatively simple. You're taking whatever the output, the production was, and then I think our multiplier is like like 0.07 something that we take at times, and then I think there's another factor in there, but I'll send that all out to you guys, and you'll have all of that. So
awesome. Yeah, so we will plan on sending out an email, and so I think that's the majority of our questions. And so we have a recording of this whole webinar, and so we will plan on sending that out to all the listeners. So if you wanted to go back and get more review, if you're really trying to get this implemented in your community. So I think we're going to wrap things up here. Thank you all, and thank you to Josh for all the great information we had today. I learned a lot. I'm sure all of us have learned a lot and can share the knowledge. And so I guess the last point I want to make is that we'll be doing another Lunch and Learn in August. I think it's August 12th around this time at noon, and it will be with the summer interns. So myself, I'll be talking about the projects that I've been working on and what I've learned and what I've still am trying to accomplish with spreading the LED light bulbs exchange to Clayton County residents, and the mapping project I've been working on. and a few other solar stories. And then Ashley, or not Ashley, Alyssa is going to, who is an intern working on trying to reduce carbon footprints for churches in our county as well. So those are the two projects. That's August 12th. But thank you everybody for coming, and I think we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. We're all.
Good to see you, Jim.
Yeah.